In this video presentation, we'll be looking at Moodle's Task API, mainly to do with scheduled tasks, and it incorporates logging. It is also possible to have ad hoc tasks, but this is not covered in this presentation. The content of this video has been extracted from the Moodle plugin development by example course from Moodle Publishing. But before we start, if this video proves to be useful and informative, please don't forget to like it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel for more useful content in the future. If you are so inclined, click the bell notification to be informed when we upload new content. So we are going to develop a local plugin called Udacity Sync. In case you don't know what Udacity is a site where you can find training courses and programs to support your professional development. And I've done a search here for web development, and you can see there's quite a few courses here. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use the REST web service. They provide a public API for their catalog, and we're going to synchronize the web development track of courses, these courses, with our Moodle. Okay. Now our plugin is going to use the tasks API. It will be a scheduled task to do the synchronization. So let's have a look at the task API. Plugins can run scheduled tasks using the task API. Before Moodle 2.7, there were different ways to do this, and normally at that time they were referred to as the Moodle cron, following on the Linux way of doing scheduled tasks. Okay, now site administrators have more control over when tasks are run, and then they can even run the scheduled tasks outside of the set schedule and control when the scheduled tasks run, etc., etc. So it is a much better system now. It is also possible to develop ad hoc tasks, but we're not going to cover that in this course. Right, so scheduled tasks are created by extending the scheduled task core class, and your classes need to reside, and your task classes needs to reside in the classes task directory of your plugin. And for auto-loading, the class must be in the plugin's namespace. Only two functions are required for scheduled tasks. The getName function, which returns the name of the task, and execute. That's the function that actually does the work of the task. The return value is irrelevant and is ignored. You need to raise an exception if you want to raise an error, and errors are logged. Okay, an additional DB tasks PHP, so task PHP in the DB folder is required for tasks as well, and we'll look at that as we develop our own. And then if you want to have a look at the Moodle documentation for it, there's a link here in this presentation. So let's go ahead and create our scheduled task class. So we need new folders. So we need classes, task, and we'll create our task file. Let's go PHP file. I'm going to name this Udacity Sync without the underscore, and we'll save that. And this is our file. Usual stuff at the top. We now namespace as required, and for auto loading, the name of our file, the name of our class are the same, and we are extending the core task scheduled task class. Okay, and then now two required functions: getName, which we will need to define a string for, and at the moment we'll just return true. Note the parameter here. There's a reason why I've done that, but on the command line, or when the tasks actually run, you can't pass parameters to the execute function. Okay, we need to get some data. Now usually when I'm developing a REST plugin and calling another service on another server, I try not to overload the server while I am developing. So one of the things I like to do is download maybe even a sample of the data that I would be getting back from the service, storing it locally, do my development with the actual data that's on the disk, and then when I'm ready, when I think I've got it all sorted out, I then actually start using the actual REST interface. So I'm going to suggest you do the same, and then download from that link, download the course catalog, Udacity's course catalog, and save it to the folder on the screen, to a file in the folder on the screen. So basically in the same folder as our class, and you make sure that the web server can read it. Then we'll use that as we're developing our plugin, and then at in the final stages we'll actually make the REST call. So back in our course, we still need to define our tasks name string. As you can see, I've downloaded the catalog JSON file. It's sitting there in the folder ready for us to get working on it. So let's define the string. So this is our string. We've just added the task name for our sync. So now back in our code, let's define our db tasks PHP file, which is now us integrating the scheduled tasks into our plugin into the scheduled tasks framework. So we'll create a folder first. We need the db folder, and then in there we're going to create a new file, PHP file called tasks.php. So this is our file with the usual stuff at the top, and then we find an array of tasks, and each item in that array is an array itself, an associative array. And okay, and this is the keys of the array. So we've got class name, which is the class name of our function. Look at it, it is namespace auto-loaded class name. Another time where you have to use namespaces and auto-loading to get it to work. All right, we've got a blocking call, which if set to true blocks the others from running. And then we've got something that people who have worked with Linux will recognize quite easily. So we've got our settings for when the actual task will run. The star means every, so we got at 30 minutes past 1 in the morning, every day of every month of every day of the week. So this is the default. Now I've mentioned before, and we'll see this a little later on, that can be changed by the site admin. So what we'll do is upgrade our plugin again, and let's go and have a look at what this does now in Moodle. So we'll swing back, up our version, make sure our task file is saved. So up our version, right, and let's go back to Moodle. So back in Moodle, we'll upgrade first. Okay, now we'll navigate to server in the site admin and look at our tasks. So look at scheduled tasks. So let's have a look. It's a long list, so what I'll do is I'll quickly just use the find. There we go. There's our task specified. Okay, and then if you look here, you can actually click through, and then the site admin can actually change the defaults. So you get told when it was last run, when's the next run, based on what you've got as a schedule, and you can change it. You can actually disable it, and if let's say you've changed it and you want to reset it back to defaults, you can set it back to default. So that's our task, and there's other information like reports and stuff, logs for the task itself. Okay, right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to run. It's actually possible, if the site admin allows it, you can actually set it up so that the task can be run from the browser, but it's a separate setting. We're not going to do that. We're not going to bother with that. We are going to run this on the command line, how it will actually run when it's being run as a proper scheduled task. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go to our command line and run the task, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to log out of here for now, and let's do that. So on our command line, what we need is that command. So we're basically running as the web server user, calling PHP admin. So we run calling PHP, and we are pointing it at the admin CLI schedule task PHP, and then we're telling it to execute our task. Notice the double backslashes there. That's because you need to escape backslashes on the command line, at least in Linux anyway. So we're going to run this. Let's see what happens. Right, so class curl not found. Okay, so this is one of the good reasons to actually do this on the command line when you're developing scheduled tasks, because what happens is that whereas curl is probably loaded when you're working through the user interface, curl is not on the command line. So we need to go and include that file. So that's it for the presentation. To watch other extracts from the course, click on the playlist link, or alternatively, watch the video describing the course content. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and thanks for watching.